And we're getting a countdown. That's right. All right, everybody, what's up? It looks like we're live. At least I hope we are. Tonight, a little bit of a departure. First of all, I'm Dustin from TrackDaz and Talkin Motorbikes, I guess you could say. And I'm on tonight with a longtime good friend of mine who's my cycling coach guy and bike fitter and just general good dude. He comes out. Actually, if you're at the track, you've probably had him tow you around a little bit. Nate Loyal, what's up, buddy?
Hey man, good to see you.
Is yeah. I was like, you're gonna talk, right? Like you had
Yeah.
lots to say. You had lots to say Friday night at the when we're hanging out when I was about to wrap up that ride last week. So it was pretty fun hanging out with you.
Yeah, no, it was super fun and long out not at the track.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It
Oh,
was pretty cool, another
got a
another
delay
long
here.
time. It seems like
All
we've
right.
got a little bit of a delay. Sounds like it's like I'm asking you questions and then you're like taking a minute to respond. Is that accurate? Because it didn't seem like that in the pregame.
Yeah, there is a major delay.
Yeah. You know what? Should we? Yeah, Moto Prospector says, "What's up?" Um, should we kind of start this one over? Maybe like, is that
Yeah, we
weird?
can.
It
If that works
looks,
for you.
yeah, because you know what? It looks like you're. I think it's your internet connection shit. Because like you're at 44% or something right
Okay.
now, and I'm at 99. um, I don't know what's
Let
going
me
on
move.
there. Oh, you're gonna change computer, change whatever.
I'll move.
All right, I'll stay on. You disconnect and then reconnect.
Patience.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that. I'm gonna talk trash about
Oh no, I'm just moving
Nate's
rooms.
Taco Bell
Yeah,
internet.
so going into
Yeah,
back
you
right.
got Taco Bell internet in that room. Oh, okay.
There
Oh,
we
look at that.
go.
Your
Yeah, yeah,
your
see?
connection's kind
There we
of speeding
go.
up there.
There we
Okay,
go.
now, keep going, keep doing that. Keep doing. Now we're gonna need a
All
light
right.
on you, buddy, because
Give me a
like,
sec.
you know.
I oh no, no way, man. There we go.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, look at that, look at that. And you're at
what do
99%,
we
and now
want?
we're
What do we
not
want?
delayed.
Hey, perfect.
Hey,
Excellent. All
okay,
right.
there we
Let's do
go.
this.
Now we're in business. Now we're in business. Appreciate
All
that,
right.
Nate.
Okay.
I was like, "What's up with
Totally.
the
I do what
Taco
I
Bell
can, you
internet,
know?
bro?"
All
Yeah,
good, all good.
so I just did this pretty epic ride for myself. It's actually your fault that I'm riding bicycles in the first place. I blame you for all of this shit. Um, so
Rightfully so.
talk to me a little about your history. Like, how did you become this like bike fitter coach guy?
Um, Pretty much I sucked at sports. That's how I got into it. Like last picked all the time growing up. Uh I mean, raced BMX, but was horrible at it. Grew up on a farm, built my own tracks, did stuff like that. Um, Actually, with what I mean, there was a lot of talent in the little town that I grew up in. There's off-road racer, a Baja guy, Quinn Cody. We were in the same elementary school class together, and again, a lot of talent. I got into swimming though, which took me to college. Burned out of that, picked up a bike, and started having fun. But with you know, again, sucking at sports, you got to work like really hard to get mediocre.
Yeah, bro.
So learn all the tricks, all the technique. Make a ton of mistakes, learn from them, and that's how I got into coaching and bike fitting and setting people up on their bikes properly because I wanted to get better at riding bikes and my ability was limited, so just maximizing that. And this is all before a lot of this stuff became mainstream. So
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So back in the 90s, like bike fitting really wasn't a thing unless you were like a top pro rider. And even then it was like still super old school. Um,
I don't even know what does
so
old school bike fitting look like?
uh you know, it's like, well, yeah, you want to be set back in the saddle this way because that's how it's always been done. And then
You wanna
then
look
the
down
hand
and
position,
see the you wanna look down and be able to
the hand
see the
the handlebar covering the front hub. Yeah, that's, I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of things that might happen, but it's not like like that. It's just chance that that's happening. It's not like something that we look for. But I mean, just look at, you know, motorcycle design and suspension and I mean, you look at body position from like the early 90s to now,
Right.
right? It's totally different. And so we learn on how to do things better. So yeah, that's how I got into it, fell into it, just through necessity, and then helped out a ton of people and got pretty decent at that, and ended up racing road bikes for a long time. And then I just love riding anything two wheels. So once I got done sort of racing road bikes full time, I got into doing track days.
Yeah, I think I became friends with you around 2009, I think,
Yep.
and it was not long after that, or maybe '08 even, because like, I think I got my
Yeah.
first road bike actually, you got it for me, and, I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm looking into getting a bike," and you're like, "Whatever you do, don't buy a bike without talking to me." I'm like, "Wow, you sound
Right.
like me with motorcycles, right? Like, don't go buy a motorcycle without talking to me first." And,
Yeah.
somehow you steered me in a direction, and I think I ended up with, do I still have it? I think I loaned it to somebody and never got it back because 'cause I've had 3 or 4 bikes since then, but,
Right.
yeah, it was a Giant with, like, Dura Ace on it. I'm like, "I don't even know what Dura Ace is, but cool." You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, I mean, and that's the whole thing is like, hey, look, here's a bike that's, you know, got a few years on it. One of my friends, they don't need it anymore. They want to go to a good home. It's collecting dust. Found a great home for it,
yeah.
and look at where you're at now. You know, you get somebody in like even though it might be, you know, not the latest greatest, but just a good quality setup.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, I like bikes, you like bikes, let's like bikes together. Doesn't have to be
Yeah.
top of the line, but if we're having fun, like, you don't know where this will take you.
Yeah,
So
since then, I've put a bunch of miles on that thing, and then, I think I even I did that 100 miler with Chili,
yeah.
right?
The death march ride.
You're like, "Bro, first of all, you did a century with Chili." So there you
Good on
go.
chili for, you know,
Dude,
even.
Chili's a tank, bro. Like
Yeah, yeah,
he's strong. He just you know, I think we stayed out too late the night before hanging out, got a little too deep into the sushi the night
yeah,
before that one, and then
that never helps.
yeah, so I think that century he made 80, you know.
Hey, I mean, that's huge. And with climbing and all
Yeah,
that,
dude.
that's a rough day. And he's not a small person. So,
Dude, we did
you
some
know,
pretty gnarly. We did Santa Monica to PV and back, and all the way back it was raining, you know. It was
yeah,
we
makes a
did
good
some
adventure.
and with that guy Freddie that we went to dinner with last Friday, like Freddie
Yeah.
was telling you, like we did the whole mimosa ride where, you know, we each ride, 40 miles or whatever, and then drink a whole bunch of mimosas and then ride back.
Oh my
Yeah, that
gosh.
was
Yeah, there's been some races that I've done like that where, you know, you're out drinking, you know, a stage race, so multi-day race,
yeah.
and you're like, oh man, this is like so many days in a row. Let's go have a beer, and then a couple beers turn into more, and then shots, and then like all the dudes that are hanging out, there might be like 6 or 8, 10 of us. It's all the same dudes that the next day we're all in like the breakaway, you know, just thrashing each other, and it's like, well, today's gonna suck, so we might as well get it done as fast as possible. But
Yeah.
you know, and you can smell the Jack Daniels like pouring out of your sweat.
Oh,
It's
dude.
just awful. So yeah,
Yeah,
not a good idea. I don't recommend that.
yeah, thankfully, it's been quite a while since I've taken part in that kind of festivities, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't really miss myself and who I became when I was drinking, but those days I do remember them, and you know,
Yeah, yeah.
I laugh about it now. But yeah, on that ride with Chili, there was that guy in Elliptigo, and I'd never seen one before. Maybe they'd just come out, I don't know. But I was like, what the fuck is that thing, dude? And I really honestly, that was like 2010 or 11 or something. I haven't seen one of those in the wild ever since then, until the ride last week.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
there was a dude last week that did the entire 500 and something miles on an elliptigo, bro. Like,
Yeah, I saw him come through town here up in Santa Barbara, and I saw the number plate for the ride. I was like, "Whoa,
yeah,
that's
dude.
gnarly." I mean, the
Yeah.
only guy that I know who's like super badass that like nope, you just can't talk shit about that guy because he's so tough. And I told you about this the other night is Laird Hamilton. He'll be doing repeats of Latigo Canyon in Malibu,
On
which
an
is like
elliptigo.
a 7 mile climb to the first summit on an elliptigo. And he'll just be like crushing it. And you're like, oh well, it's Laird. So
I mean,
the guy's like
that dude's a master of beast of everything. That dude is just
he's like, how hard can I
not
make
human.
this? And it's like, oh, okay, that's the I wouldn't sign up for that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's
So
weird that that dude's living in Malibu. I thought he was a Hawaii guy all the time.
I mean, it's the stateside place that he stays at, but yeah, he's there and here and wherever waves are.
Wow, man.
But
Yeah. So
anyways,
anybody that wants to know what an elliptigo is, Google it.
yeah, you got to check it out.
Dude, it's
It's
like
a bit
a
of a death
trip.
trap.
Like in the gym, that thing you see all the people on the ellipse. It's like that with handlebars and wheels, dude. Like, it's the
And you can
weirdest thing ever.
turn, and it's got gears. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. So one of the
so
things I noticed about this ride, I didn't realize this until I started the ride that morning, but you know, there's a variety of people that do this ride, and this particular ride wasn't geared towards athletes. So, I mean, it was there. I kept being told it's a tour, not a ride. It's a tour, not a race. It's a tour, not a race.
yes.
And walk me through what your mindset is. The difference between a tour and a race.
Well, I mean, a tour is just, hey, we're going from point A to point B. We got all day long. It doesn't matter your fitness level. You could be pretty fit. You could be pretty out of shape. And pretty out of shape for most cyclists. I mean, granted, the people the majority of the people doing the ride that you were on aren't like crushing it, but it's pretty impressive when you see people of all ages, all builds, maybe not in the best of shape, and they did it day after day after day. And I don't
Yeah.
care who you are, but when you get to like day 3, 4, that
Hmm.
that adds up, and the fatigue level goes up. So motivating to just go do that. That's huge, and so it's really really cool to see people do that. Um, then you got this middle ground of Grand Fondo events, things like that, and it's sort of blending those worlds of enthusiasts. Maybe people aren't in the like killer shape, but decent shape. And then you'll get pros showing up and throwing down, the whole time. But as far as like racing tactics, it's still not quite there, right?
Okay.
When you get into bike racing, everybody's at the same level. And when you get into the really really top sort of amateur level, cat 1, 2, and then pro, then you start seeing tactics really really play out. But you have teams, right? And so
Tactic.
everybody's
What kind of
working together
tactic?
for a common you'll be throwing guys, teammates off the front to try to get a response from somebody else, or you know, say you've got a couple of guys that are really good at getting away from the field and staying away. They're really, just diesel engines. You keep firing that off, and I mean, it's way easier to sprint against, you know, say, 4, 5, 6 guys, 10 guys than say 150 guys, right?
Right.
So it's doing that. Plus, a lot of times you'll try to keep attacking the group, trying to launch yourself off the front to maybe not full gas, but soften up the people behind you. So get rid of the dead weight,
Yeah. Yeah.
snap the elastic band, and then again, you're just whittling down the group. So it's like, okay, like, after a while you start seeing the same dudes, in the same place, and you're like, all
Yeah.
right, I know this guy might have my number, but yeah, I'll try to be a little bit more wily and drafting. I mean, we're seeing drafting. I mean, motorcycle racing.
Yeah.
I love watching like Moto 3. I mean, Moto 3 is insane, and drafting tactics similar deal, right?
Yeah.
And even when you see like teammates starting to work together, one guy behind, say, blocking, making sure that third place guy isn't going to come around his teammate in front, let his teammate win, stuff like that. But it's a little different with bike racing, but similar principles.
That seems so complicated, dude. Like, I mean, when I ride mostly by myself on the bicycle, like I'm solo mission.
Yeah,
So it for me when if I'm on somebody's wheel, it's really distracting, and I'm just like super focused on that to like make sure that I don't smash into the back of them.
and
It takes a lot
and
out of me up here to do that, whereas when I'm by myself, I'm just like,
it
checking out the birds and shit. Like,
Yeah, yeah. No, pack riding is definitely a skill, and you gotta get used to it. And also not looking at like the wheel right in front of you, looking more at their shoulders and then around them, keeping them in your peripheral. But you start understanding gauging that distance. Say when you're battling with somebody on the racetrack, or even
right,
even just a track day, and that wheel is solid. Like they're not going to do something stupid in front of you.
right.
They're super consistent, and how they're going to react to each corner, braking marker, etc. You can keep them sort of in your peripheral,
Yeah.
and within a couple of inches where your front wheel is in relation to their rear wheel. Same thing on the bicycle, except a lot of times you just got a lot more dudes around you.
Yeah, dude.
But you get used to it, and when you get into the pro levels, you start relying on everybody's skill set around you. And there are some guys that you're like, I'm gonna go on the other side of the pack because that guy's sketchy, and I'm
Well,
gonna
I
be
used to do the Tuesday and Thursday night thing at the Rose Bowl.
yeah,
And
yeah,
man, I found that that group, it was largely filled with riders that had no business going that fast. It's close together, you know.
yeah. It's like C group.
Yeah, dude.
It's
And they're,
group on
I
like
mean,
a
they're
tour bike.
rolling, dude. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
it's been a while since I've been out there, but
no, it's all
I
the
mean,
same.
yeah,
Eh,
I mean,
eh,
it would be like what, 30 something on the upside and like 40 something, close to 50 on the downside. And,
yeah,
there'd be like 30, 40 dudes, 50 dudes, like all within inches of each other. And then, it would be like opening a pack of Skittles every couple laps at the bottom,
yeah, 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 yeah,
right?
totally.
And then the
Yep.
fire trucks and shit. Like, I was just like not down with that because they were all, there was a large group of them that would just kind of circle around at the top, and then they would jump in for the descent, and then just
Oh
kind of
yeah,
cruise control on the way up, wait again. So, those guys would only do like 5 or 6 laps, and then when everyone else do it 10.
and the
For
the
those
thing
that don't
is
know, the Rose Bowl loop is like 5K, and, on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, they used to do like that kind of like a crit almost, and
yeah,
like
it's like a
impromptu
circuit
crit.
race. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And then,
sort of a
they do
practice
10
race.
laps, 10 laps in a row, just boom, smashing every
Yeah,
lap.
full
And there's,
gas.
yeah, dude, full gas. I thought there's several times when I did it, I thought I was going to die. It's just like, oh my God. Like, my heart is just like, "Chah," you know?
Well, and that's a lot with training as well. Like if you're not training for those intensities,
Yeah.
it's really, really brutal. So you got to get your foundation set, your aerobic foundation,
I think I'm more
endurance.
fit now than I was then when I was doing that.
Yeah.
But,
So if we put some top end, ultra high intensity on you now, um, yeah, you'd have a great foundation to build from. But you don't have any top end because of what you just did. Just endurance.
right.
You're you're like a
Yeah.
locomotive.
You
Like you have to
point
speed
me
and
200
hold.
miles away, no problem, bro. I'm your
Right.
guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's,
and just because somebody has like it's super strong, go super hard, doesn't mean they have bike handling skills.
Right. Right. Right.
And that's just period. On top of it, say descending, cornering, stuff like that. A lot of guys going up the hill really fast don't always come down the hill the fastest.
Dude, I will admit that I am super chicken on descents, you know. Like I'll roll up and I'm strong going up, and man, going down ever since, breaking my humerus in 2012,
Yeah,
I'm super
just
chicken,
not.
man. I'm like, bro, I'm in my underwear. Like there's,
Yeah.
not much protective in here. If something goes wrong, dude, it's gonna be bad.
And risk to reward. I'm sure
Right,
you go down fine. Go down hills fine, but it's unless it's an open road, clean road, no traffic. You
right,
know, sort of why.
right.
I just got back from Italy, and there was a few descents that I knew out there, and definitely, it's middle of nowhere, uh, in Tuscany, and just ripping some descents. But it was like, okay, like I don't really need to go that extra little bit because the risk to reward is
Right,
there's no prize at the bottom of the hill
right.
not racing. So
So, transitioning from bicycling to racing, what was that like for you? Like what was the catalyst that sent you from doing a track day or two to going club racing
well, I mean,
motorcycles?
really it was our buddy Gary Scheckner, who was just like, oh, hey, you like motorcycles, like you should do this. And I took my Honda 919, out
I remember the
street.
919.
Yeah, that thing was a hooligan bike. That was so fun. I sort of miss that bike.
I
But
remember you said you thought that my two up sled was going to be just like your 919.
yeah, not even close.
Yeah, dude.
Zero. Um, but yeah, it was like, ooh, this is really fun. Went out for a couple of track days, got used to really how the bike, open up the bike. It's like, oh, you thought that thing went fast on the street? No, 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 no. Like this is where you go fast. And then somebody put me on a fully clapped out like Cowie 600. I mean, this thing was just awful in every single way.
Yeah.
And after one session on that, I was like permagrin, like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. I need one. And they're like, that thing,
Like,
that's
dude,
such
you're
a pile.
you're you're an idiot, dude. That thing's a turd.
And it was awesome. It was so much fun. And then it was like, okay, build an SV, get it set up right. And then it's just like, oh, maybe do new racer school, and then yeah, and then I was just hooked. It
I
was like,
remember you
oh,
were
this
like
this is
super
great.
into it too, man. You
Yeah.
know, and then I you raced at Chuckwalla, didn't you? Or no?
I think I did like one or two races out there, but yeah,
Yeah.
that was it.
When I started the club, I scumbagged all you guys to come out and race with us. And you did. And then later on I ended up racing your fucking motorcycle, dude.
Hey man, I wasn't using it at the time, so I'm glad somebody used it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, we stuck at
So
number 37 on the front of your pile and I went racing, dude. It was great.
done. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Super good.
like I remember having to like call my guy at Yamaha and be like, "Hey, dude, you're cool with me racing a Suzuki SV 650, right?" And they're like, "Dude,
It's
we don't
like
give a shit what you
that
race,
thing's a
man."
and that thing's a pile anyways. So
I was like, "Dude, it's not even current. It's old, you know." And they're like, "Yeah, whatever, man." You know.
well,
So
I'm stoked you got to ride that because it's one of those things where we all help each other, right? And it's same thing with the bicycles. Like, I mean, I was when I first started racing out at Willow, I would still pedal after they shut the track down, and
yeah,
that's actually how everybody was like, "Hey, are you that dude in Lycra like pedaling around?" And I'm like,
yeah.
"Oh, yeah, like I'm just ready for the shit talking to start, right?"
Well,
And
before you, it was only Stony Landers I would see doing that when
yeah,
he was still racing. You know.
yeah, yeah.
Stony
But
Stony would be in his rollers in the pit right before his race. Gotta warm up, dude.
right, right,
Like,
right.
and if you talk to that guy, like he would do like what was it, Mount Whitney or whatever, like all the time, like a couple three
Yeah.
times a week or whatever. Like he was a beast, dude.
And that's the
Stony
whole
was
thing
fit.
is you realize like it gives you such a leg up for what like Schechner and I and a bunch of others have joked around of being able to over punch the fun card. Like you have so much endurance, like you
Yeah.
can just shatter yourself for the day. You
Yeah.
know, and when I first started in track days, it was like, oh, nobody does all the sessions. I was like, why wouldn't you? Like this is like going to Magic Mountain. I'm gonna be first on, last off. Like there's no chance. And
Like it starts
yeah,
raining and you're like, fuck it, I'm
nope.
going riding in the rain.
Oh, I've done track days at Laguna in the rain and been like full send, like
Yeah.
it's cool. DOTs, no big deal. And everybody's
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's dumb move, but it's like, no, cool. Um, but yeah, I started seeing more guys who are really, racing. I remember running into Steve Rapp at the Velodrome, so the indoor track down in Carson,
Dude, I
and
just
he
texted Steve Rapp earlier and was like, bro, I'm talking to Nate tonight. And he's like, oh, cool.
ah
Maybe I'll check it out. So hopefully
nice.
Rapper's taking a look.
Yeah, man. I'll never forget. Like he had just won the Daytona 200,
Right.
and I was doing my workout, and he was doing his thing, and I rolled by him, and I was like, "Hey, bro, congrats on the 200." And he was like, "What the like? Did that guy just say that?" And like he sped up and caught up, and he's like, "Hey, did you just talk about the 200?" I was like, "Yeah, man, good job. Like way to kill it." And he's like, "You watch that?" And then yeah, it's cool. They're for a while, helping out a lot of guys, with their bike fit or just advice on training and all that. But that it was, I just felt like I was the bicycle dork coming out to the track and
Yeah.
having fun. Um,
It
it was good.
it's funny seeing you come out to the track now and like nobody knows you because like you've been away for a little while, and you're like,
Yeah,
hey man, I
yeah, yeah.
used to be a big deal. It's some
No, no. The Well, I was telling you the other night when I hadn't been on the track in a couple of years, and
Yeah.
one of your riders came, just circulating around, making sure nobody's doing anything stupid. And
Yeah.
I hadn't been on so long. You threw me in a C group, which is completely the correct thing to do.
Right.
So much rust, and follows me in. I'm like, oh, I did something wrong. Like one of the guys is following me in, like, and I pull up right in front of the pit, and he's like, "Hey, bro, you have you done a track day before? Because like your positioning looks pretty good. I mean, you're slow. You're so slow, but like you look pretty good on the bike." And you guys are just laughing. I was like, "Yeah, I've been on the motorcycle a couple of times, but I'm definitely slow."
Wow, man.
Hey, I'd rather look like I have good technique than be fast, because I mean, a long time ago, I used to work on race cars, and we'd always joke, good to be, look fast, and I hope, if you're not fast, at least you look fast, and
Right. Right.
so it's like, all right, cool. Look, I'll fake it till I make it.
So, from what I understand, you've coached and worked with a few like superbike guys, right? Aside from
Yeah,
Rapper.
yeah. So Rapper, helped him out with his bike school setup, and Chris Ulrich coached him for a long time. Jason Pridmore, when he was doing World Superbike, really making sure
Oh,
that
World
he was.
Endurance, right? The World Endurance thing. Yeah.
Well, no, when he was World Superbike for
Oh.
that one season.
Oh.
I'm
Okay.
trying to remember
Shit.
the team he was on, but yeah, he got a ride, and he was doing that, and really, I mean, he put in the time,
Really?
and that guy is so broken,
Oh,
and
dude. Yeah. He's like
and
Mr.
and
Glass, dude. Like that
he
guy, man. His leg is so shit.
well, the
Oof.
funny thing is I actually use him as an example with some of my clients, because we're always, with bicycle setup, we're always modifying the bicycle, which is a perfect machine, to this imperfect machine. We're
Right.
all imperfect. Some of us a little bit more than others. And so we can modify the equipment to work with how the human works, but sometimes the human doesn't work the way a normal human should work.
Right.
But with JP, you've got a lot of hardware when you have like a huge get off, and before they put hardware in, they take more out.
Right. Yeah.
And so, like, he had, essentially a fused ankle, and he had a
Dude,
huge get off at
that
Phillip
ankle,
Island a while
I
back.
remember seeing the X-rays of Pridmore's
Dude,
ankle, and it looked like he had an erector set in there, dude. Like the whole
they,
erector set.
well, he called me up after like his huge get off at Phillip Island. I think there was an endurance race or a vintage race down there, and they took out a bunch of hardware. And he's like, "Bro, I actually get some range out of my ankle again."
Man,
I
so
was like,
rough,
"Oh,
dude.
bro,"
So rough.
but yeah, no, that guy's solid with he understanding like what needs to be done if you really want to, you know, get to the next level.
So
And
how do
now,
you
I mean,
how would you push somebody towards cycling that wants to race motor? Like, how would you say that cycling helps with the motorcycle racing? Like, I have my own thoughts on it, but like, you're the man, so
yeah,
tell me how. Like, what kind of
I mean,
training do you do? Because you're not trying to help them be good at riding
cycling.
bicycles,
No,
right?
no. I mean, that's going to happen just because you're doing so much of it. But if we can give you more cardio endurance to be good at what you're already good at, so, especially with like the pro riders, you go out for a test, right? How many laps are you going to get in, right?
Right.
And how many of those are quality where you're actually going to get data?
Well,
Well,
those
what if
those
we get
guys, those guys are. I mean, I've gotten to watch guy like Jake Gagne, right?
right,
Dude, that guy from the word go, dude. The moment he rolls out, he's kind of unique in that he just kind of cruises out.
right,
But by the time he goes around one lap and he's the second lap, he is on, dude.
right, yeah.
And and that dude's fitness level is crazy. Like,
And that's the whole thing is like if you can get more good laps, you don't need just laps, right? You need good laps.
yeah,
And so the more good laps you have that you can go back to back to back to back, you can get better data, fine tune your equipment, fine tune you, understand the limits of you and your equipment. So essentially, we're just trying to give you more, let you be you, but longer.
yeah. I
That's
mean,
it.
obviously, the last 4 or 5 months, you and I've been communicating about this San Francisco to LA thing, and I was really worried about it. And you're like, whatever, man, you got this. And
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, I was so fearful of this ride kicking my ass that I put in so much work, man. Like never before. But when I was training for racing, you were having me doing the rowing machine and shit, like fucking around in the gym. I was like, "What, dude? Like,
yeah.
fuck you and
Planks
your rowing
and
machine, you
yeah,
dick."
yeah, yeah, yeah. But then if we make it hard in training and prep, then like we get out on the track and you're like, oh, I got this. Like
Yeah,
this is actually, I wouldn't say easy, but yeah, it's not. You're then not focusing on what your body can handle, and you're actually doing task at hand of, you know, riding the motorcycle fast.
yeah, yeah.
But then also like the nice thing with the bicycle is we don't put on a lot of muscle mass. It's not like being in the gym lifting heavy or anything like that. It's not that kind of
Right.
strength. Um, and so if we can keep the weight down, it helps burn, a lot. I mean, you've skinnied up a lot. Um, but think about transfer of weight. You're going through the corners, especially quick
Right.
changes. How much less weight you're having to move around, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then the how your suspension is having to deal with less weight of you.
Yeah. I
Going
think
to
I
break.
I think I told you, right? Like the two
Yeah,
up
yeah.
sled used to work
Oh,
pretty good, and now like it doesn't without a passenger. Like
yeah,
I used
yeah.
to go out I used to go out and be not far off of my race bike times on the super bike on two up sled. And now it's like, man, the thing wants to run wide now. Like if I'm by myself.
Right. Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
like kind of, yeah, that doesn't seem right. But I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like 45 pounds lighter.
That's huge. I mean, I
Yeah,
forget what the
dude. I was such
calculation
a
is
fatty,
to.
dude.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, when I first met you, you were thick.
like 240 something probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just remember seeing everybody's leathers, and I was like, "Whoa, those are like parachutes."
Oh, dude. Yeah.
It
I
was
remember
brutal.
we used to talk about like projecting Talladega Nights on the back of Chili's leathers, right?
That's awesome.
We're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh yeah. you ain't first, you're last.
Right?
But yeah, I mean, it's the fitness thing. Like I was saying, I was really fearful of that San Francisco thing. I took it serious, man, and like you said, I kind of made it easy on myself, and I was able to
Right.
use that and take in the scenery more. I'm like, oh look, a deer.
No, I mean, and that's the whole thing. You don't want to be like, oh, I rode 500 miles and all I saw was tarmac. Like
Right.
that'd be awful. That'd be super. That would just suck.
Yeah, like I
So,
spent one night in the hotel room eating an entire bag of those brown butter cookies.
and yeah, you burned it up. And
Yeah.
Mr. Fusion.
Mr. Fusion. Yeah. Um, for those that are listening to this or watching this, Nate's talking about Mr. Fusion, and yeah, explain this, dude. Explain
All
the
right,
Mr. Fusion thing.
so Back to the Future, Doc Brown comes back and he sees Marty McFly and he's just throwing trash into the back of the DeLorean. He's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, forget the uranium or whatever it was." He's like, "Now in the future we have Mr. Fusion, like a Mr. Coffee, but and it just runs on like trash, like put anything like milk carton, eggshells. And so when we get somebody's fitness super super high, especially doing a multi-day event like that, after a while, like as long as it's calories, like at a certain point it's a rounding error of like, yeah, there's good calories and bad calories, but at a certain point we just need calories. So I mean, honestly, I've had some of my best races on In and Out. You're in the middle of nowhere. There's
Yeah.
there's no good food options, and your race is in a couple hours, and it's like, hey, there's an In and Out. Like it'll be digested by it, but by the time that we race, but
Yeah.
and then you just kill it. So,
Well, there was
anyways,
that Carlos dude on the ride. That what a beast
yeah,
that guy is. But that guy started in Canada and joined the ride in San Francisco, and then after the ride completed, he carried on and went down to Tijuana.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. Well,
that dude was he took every day, all day, every day, because I swear that dude, like every 10 miles, he's stopping to eat somewhere. He's like, oh, I have to eat everywhere. He's like, I'm gonna eat everywhere in California.
well, up to the point when he met you guys, he was putting in like 100-mile days plus and with elevation. So,
Yeah,
like, he was using the ride as like a recovery.
yeah, yeah.
So he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna make up for like what I've been doing the last like week and a half, 2 weeks."
Dude, he stopped to get the cookies. He stopped in Pismo to get the cinnamon roll. Like
Oh, those are the
that, and
best.
then he was trying to scumbag me into going with him to get coffee and like slow. And I was like, what, dude?
Yeah,
Like I
totally.
like I was one of those guys that like I was up early every day. I banged, I ate my breakfast and I hit the road every day. I didn't fuck around. But he kind of like took his time and rolled out. Like maybe I'll do that next time. I already signed up for next year, so
Nice.
um
Well, it's also like this is your first rodeo for this.
yeah,
You're jumping in the deep end. You don't know what to expect.
right.
But I mean, in a way, you over prepared, which is great.
Right.
Because now it just springboards you into like better stuff, and it just feels, you move better in your body, day to
Yeah.
day stuff. You know, you don't feel so bad when you go off the rails here or there. It's part of my 80-20 plan. 80% of the time you're on point with, say, training or nutrition or something like
Right.
that, and then 20% of the time you just tell yourself like, hey, cool, like I got 20% in my back pocket. If I use it, I'm not going to sweat it. And the funny thing is, when you give yourself that mental freedom, like all
Yeah.
of a sudden you almost don't use it all the time.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you over prepared, which is great, and you also wrote it right. Starting early. Hey, something goes sideways, you got all day to deal with it.
The hike a bike
You
thing
know,
was yeah, like there was a one
But
day where like we were in Pismo Beach. I was like a mile and a half or something from the end, and I took a flat. And I'm running tubeless tires, so there's fucking sealant everywhere. And it was like let out the artery, is just bled out. It was like there's no repairing it. Like I had a
yeah,
smart tube. Pirelli hooked me up with smart tube and stuff, but
right.
there was no smart tube gonna fix that, dude. Like it was it was
Yeah,
done
when you
done.
can see a hole like that
Dude, you
big,
could
like
put your thumb in the hole, dude. It was
yeah,
like,
that's.
yeah, it was a good one. And so yeah, I
But you
learned on
still
this
finished like you were like one of
15th
the
or
first
something.
people. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, come
Yeah.
on.
So I learned this term during the ride. A bunch of people are like, "Oh, you're one of those EFI guys." I was like, fuel injection? Like what electronic fuel injection?" They're like, "No, every fucking inch." And basically I from there it was literally like the little access road and you go to the ranger station and then you could drive out on the beach right there in Pismo. And
Right.
so I talked to the ranger and I'm like, okay, man, I got a flat. Like, where's the arthritis guys at? And they're like, oh, yeah, they're camped over on the other side of that hill. If you go this way and take this little horse trail, it'll take you right there. What she didn't tell me that this horse trail was like sand dunes and like crazy hills, gnarly. I hiked a bike 1.5 miles to the finish that one. And man, I wouldn't change a thing because what an experience that was, right?
Yeah, part of the adventure, you know?
There's like the desert little, the sand dune rabbits and shit floating around. I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
man, this is cool. But my shoulder's kind of sore, you know. But yeah, Pirelli hooked me up, and I brought spare tires with me. So I literally just as soon as I got back to camp, I
Yeah.
swapped tire, boom, done, and I made the rest of the ride. Still on the
I
bike
mean,
right now.
good. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, it's just a different widget for you, motorcycles, bicycles.
Yeah,
When you've gone out to, say, Utah, to Miller,
yeah,
you bring extras. You bring stuff that you're like, well, if this breaks down or this snaps or whatever, like, I I don't want to get to this super rad racetrack and not and have something break and I got to go searching around and you
yeah.
know probably my day is done or whatever. So, same thing on a ride like this. And I mean, heck, even my garage. I actually found out the crank on my bicycle is broken.
What?
It's
Is it one of those Shimano's that it's recalled or
Yep.
something?
Yeah, the Shimano Dura-Ace, I pulled it off, and sure enough, that it was the start of this little tiny hairline crack, and I was like, "Oh, man." So, anyways, I got extra bikes, but that's the whole thing. That's why you have extra bikes. You have extra gear. I won't be down. I'll be pedaling no matter what. So that's why you have
I got extra
extras.
bikes on the wall, but those are like my wall art bikes now, dude. Like pretty much ride this one, and if this one's in the shop or whatever, I'm on the Peloton. So I'm always calling up the guys if they're working on my bike or the tune up or whatever it is. I'm like, dude, I'm on the fucking Peloton, bro. Like, let's go. Get her done,
Yeah, yeah.
dude.
But at least you still have the Peloton, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Like, I've
yeah,
I've got I've got a Wahoo bike, similar setup, and it's so nice having, like, okay, everything gets shit canned. I still can, keep things going. And that's, again, back, bringing this back around to, like, training, it's all about the consistency. I'd rather see somebody be more consistent than just, like, put in, like, huge miles on the weekend and that's it.
yeah,
So, it's good to pack in where you can, but at the same time, I mean, like, today I went for, like, a 40-minute light pedal, just I was feeling tired, but I knew I needed to spin things out. It's keep touching it, keep touching it, keep touching it. You
yeah,
want to get fast on the motorcycle, got to be consistent getting out to the track. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
you're not just going to be fast. Like, that just doesn't
Dude,
happen.
I was talking
Sorry.
about this earlier today, man. Like, I haven't been at the track since August. It's the longest
Yeah,
I've been away from the track in for 25 years.
yeah, you're going to go back to C group.
Probably, huh? I'm gonna have to, maybe they'll let me run yellow plates again. What do you think? No? Probably not.
Oh man, yeah.
Probably not. There's a guy commenting. He was commenting about the Cowie that you rode, but his name's Davey Stone. Davey used to talk about training in rollers, and we had a
Hmm.
rollers conversation the other night. Like,
Oh yeah.
talk to me about training in rollers and what that entails, and if you've never done it before, what to expect.
All right, so the rollers are essentially three drums that are hooked up on a frame, and the rear drum and the front drum are connected by like a rubber band. And you put the bicycle on it, and the rear tire sets in between the two rear drums, and then
Right.
the front wheel is underneath the one single front drum. And when you start pedaling, you got to balance on this thing. right? So the thing is you're trying to go like they're only like a foot wide, foot and a half tops. You can get some that are super skinny if you're super badass. Um, but you can ride straight off them, right? So whether it be a bicycle or motorcycle, you're constantly steering the machine underneath you.
Yeah.
You might not be realizing it, but that's what's going on. And when you ride rollers, you realize this really fast. So rollers are super awesome because it gives you a great understanding of control of the bike.
Yeah.
You got to pedal super smooth. You can't be janky with your pedal stroke. So nice and fluid.
Making
Not too
circles.
much making circles, right?
I
Not
think I've heard you
crazy
tell
with
me
your
to make
arms.
circles. You're like, hey man,
Always, man.
make circles. I
Yeah.
think
You
you
know how to
even
push
had me. I think you even had me pedaling with one leg one time.
it's
Does that
muscle
sound?
activation. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Because
Yeah.
you know how to push down. It's all the other muscle groups that we want to try to recruit. We don't want to be like, you're not going to produce like a ton of power there. But if we can just
Yeah.
sort of distribute and make things a little bit more efficient, great. But yeah, rollers, awesome. Those things
Girl,
will
have
make
fun
somebody.
learning them, asshole.
Oh yeah, you put yourself in a doorway, so, like, if you ride straight off them, like, you'll at least catch yourself.
Oh
I had
man.
a huge crash on one once where, I mean, I can ride out of the saddle, no hands, things like that, like, it's just all balance. You see people doing all kinds of crazy stuff on rollers. I can't do
Right.
that, the crazy stuff, but I was, I was living down in El Segundo at the time. My buddy was an ex-pro, and he got some like rabid dog. It looked like the dog from Vacation. I swear to God, this thing was just pure evil. And he would go out for like these early runs, and I'm inside in the living room, pedaling on the rollers, eating some cereal, like no handed, and he like bursts in the door. The dog like just scares the crap out of me. My front wheel goes this way. I go that way. The cereal goes, hits the ceiling. I mean, there was like milk dropping down from the ceiling. I pulled my groin muscle. Oh,
Oh my god,
it
dude.
was so bad. Like you don't want to crash on those things. And when it goes bad fast.
Okay.
And it's not like, oh, hey, I did this really cool thing and that's how I got hurt. It's like,
You're like,
no, I was
oh,
in
I
my
tripped
living
in the living
room.
room. Oh
It's
man,
like
that's awesome.
complete idiot. But anyways,
So how do you how would you recognize that you're overtraining, you know?
fatigue.
Yeah?
When you can't get your heart rate up. When you're you're just tired, and say you go out for a run or a bike ride or on the rowing machine, and you're putting in all your effort and you can't get your heart rate to budge.
Yeah.
That's a huge indicator for that. The other one is like when your perceived exertion's like stupidly high, you're not doing like much work at all, and your heart rate's through the roof. It can do either of these things. These are tall tales for that. Um, so yeah, a lot of times it's like, okay, pump the brakes, back off, go take a nap, call it a day. And if you've dug enough of a hole, it's like, all right, next week, 2 weeks, you got to just go out for like super easy, you know, walks, rides, things like that. Keep it short. I hear a lot of people are like, oh, I went out and did a recovery ride, and it's like, oh, how long was your ride? Oh, I rode like 3 hours, but it was at like 100 heart rate. And it's like, that ain't a recovery ride, man. Like, you
Recovery
just
ride's
on
like an hour,
exposure
right? Hour and a half
max.
tops.
Oh yeah, no, like
Hour.
hour, like 45 minutes an hour is like plenty, right?
Right.
And the reason why I say that is active recovery. You're just trying to get the muscles to, the blood to flow and the joints to move, and just as I say, oiling the tin man. That's it. Like you're just like, but just if you do that long enough, that's exposure, right?
Right.
And so that alone is going to be fatiguing. So when people go, oh yeah, I did a 3 hour recovery ride, it's like you don't know what you're talking about.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yep,
And
yep.
then talk about like the importance of recovery too, because like it's very you it's very hard to not stay on the pin all the time, like talk about the recovery thing.
So all your gains are made in recovery. So all training is doing really is breaking the body down essentially, right?
Yeah,
So you put in these blocks of, a week of training, 2 weeks of training. A lot of times we'll do 3 weeks of build and then have super mellow week so the body can rebuild itself.
right.
And so it's that rebuilding process that you're allowing the body to do. It takes some time to learn how to do it without going insane because you're like, I'm not doing anything. I'm losing fitness. And it's like,
Yeah,
no. Actually, this is how you're going to come back like way stronger. So you're just tearing your body down, and then you ride the upswing in the fitness. And so, like with you, making sure that you backed off, leading up to your big ride. It's like I want you chomping at the bit,
dude,
so
it
you're
was driving me crazy to, because
like,
I
I
took the
want to
week off.
ride.
I took the week off and I went to Coda, right?
Mhm.
And then I was
Yep.
only home like a week and then went to the ride.
Yeah.
And that
And
week, I didn't really ride a lot that week. I just did a couple of rides, got hit by a car, right?
I don't recommend that in recovery. That's not good.
Definitely don't recommend getting hit by a car. Somehow I didn't fall down. You know,
Skills.
I sure. Yeah. Sometimes it's one of those you'd rather be lucky than good kind of
Right.
things.
Oh
But
yeah, for sure.
yeah, it was I don't know. I don't know how I didn't fall down, but I have a nice scuff mark on my silver bullet shoe on that side
Sweet.
from a BMW. So hopefully I
Yeah,
dented his
yeah,
car or scratched it real good or something.
totally.
Because he did not stop. So whoever that person is, whoever they are, male or female, who cares? But they hit somebody with a car and didn't stop. So they kind of, I don't know.
Uh, I hate those people so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Good times though, right?
Karma though. Karma will come around. That's
So
what.
what with the racing stuff, with the motorcycle racing, what's your best racing moment that you had, you think?
Oof. Best racing moment. Um, there was a guy, Spates.
Oh,
That.
Chris Spates?
Yeah, yeah. We battled hard.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, we had a couple of really good battles. And he usually had my number. But there was one race where it was like lap after lap, we were just going back and forth. And we couldn't break away from it, either of us. And so with that, oh, I got my little girl here. Mwah.
Uh-oh.
All right, say hi. All right. Um, so with that, we're battling. This is at Big Willow, and I lined him up. So we were going in at 8, pretty hard, right? And I was right on him, and I knew I could get a run on him coming out of 9.
Yeah.
And so I backed off, got a good run out of 9, coming around him. I had like half a bike length in front of me, in front of him, and then rev limiter. I was like, okay, do I
Oh.
shift? Do I not? I can make it. And then it was like, whoop, and he got me by like a couple hundredths of a second. I was like, ah. Everybody was going nuts, and they were like, that was so fun to watch. And yeah, that was a good time. Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, Spates, I think he moved back east, but he was riding like one of those Kevin Jump Cowie 650 things, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That and the SV that we were riding was those things were pretty evenly matched.
Yeah.
So yeah, it made for good fun battles.
The SV thing, man, like since ditching that class, because I was only in that class in between bikes. So,
Hmm.
I went to the R6 and shit. Since 2015, I've been doing the R1 thing. I'm on my fourth R1 now.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I've had to throw two of them in the trash,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Two were junkers.
Yeah, I had to throw
Yikes.
two R1s in the trash, but like, it's racing, right?
Yep. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
whole thing. And when you're racing, you I mean, it's racing. You're gonna break stuff. If you're not breaking stuff, you're not going fast.
I guess.
I'm sorry.
Man,
Yeah.
that sucks. But
Yeah.
Whatever. The bicycle thing was it was pretty cool. I think the on that route that we were on, I think honestly one of the coolest days was it was also one of the hardest days because it was hot, but going to your hometown, dude.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that was a
Going
tough
through.
ride. It wasn't necessarily long. It was like 60 miles or something, and it wasn't really steep climb either. It was only like 3,500 feet or something that day. But god damn, man, it was like it felt like it might as well have been 100, and
Yeah.
10,000 feet,
Well, and that's where like elevation, people don't realize elevation. And nickel and diming, like when you have a huge mountain, you're like, okay, I can wrap my head around. I'm gonna go over this huge mountain. But when it's rolling and you get these false flats, so like just like 2% grade going up for
Yeah.
like an hour,
Yeah.
you're like, God, is my brake on? Like, what's going on here? Like, I
Yeah,
don't
dude.
understand. Like, I should be going faster than this because it looks flat, and you can just smoke yourself,
Yeah.
pretty hard with that.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
and then you
it
got the
was
heat,
the
all that.
heat and the wind. Yeah, Nate, Ludwig's texted me to tell me he commented. I'm like, "Bro, I saw your comment, but I'm like, I'm gonna get to it, all right? Shit, dude, like we're talking. You gotta interrupt like that, you rude ass."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, so with like the heat, I mean, that's something from bicycles to being out in the, I mean, most tracks are not in cold areas, right,
right.
that we go to. So it's like, all right, are you fueling correctly? Are you hydrating properly? It's so good to see like the change of layout, over the
Yeah.
course of, I mean, what, 08, 09, since I started going out. I mean, people were just not taking care of themselves at all. And it's like, well, no wonder you're going home at, after lunch, right?
Yeah.
You're smoked. You haven't eaten anything and you're not drinking. So,
Yeah.
and it's not just like, oh, I'm drinking water, Gatorade. Okay, like it's easy. It's better than nothing. But
Right.
you start making better choices, and it's like, oh, we got some,
No, you
carrots
gotta
and
drink
things like
Pepsi.
that.
Pepsi. That's what right? No?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No?
No,
You
no,
don't
no,
recover
no.
with the Pepsi, dude? I thought everybody
No.
recovered with Pepsi is a recovery drink, I heard. No?
No.
Damn
That's so
it.
bad.
I've
A
been
good
doing it wrong
recovery,
then.
so in a pinch, a good recovery drink is, believe it or not, chocolate milk. I love that stuff. Like
Yep.
you got carbs, protein, fat, right blend. Sure, there's better options, but in a pinch, you can find that anywhere.
Yeah.
And then if you want like upgraded, like it's super easy to get, Ensure.
Really?
The
Ensure.
oh yeah, we used to get like 6 packs or cases of that stuff on the road racing.
What?
We're like, oh yeah, we're gonna,
We're
finish our race and
gonna
then kick back
ensure we
with it.
finish this thing.
Yeah, you know, and everybody's like, what are you guys are idiots. And we're like, no, no, it's like, what is, it's so good.
Oh man.
So yeah, there's some little tricks. Even Snickers, like actually like out of like energy bars,
Yeah.
Snickers isn't a bad option because of the nuts and, everything going along. Again, better options
So
out there, but
basically you're telling everybody to believe the commercial.
yeah, man. No, there's literally been studies on this, and it's really funny how like some of the bars out there are like pretty junk, and like Snickers like kills it. And again, I mean, now there's so many options. You go to in like Whole Foods or Trader Joe's or something like that. There's awesome
What
options.
what about cramping? Because we were on a ride a couple years ago. We used to do these rides, big group rides, and actually it's like one of the Heron rides. And Jimmy,
Oh yeah,
Jimmy Avila, he was uh he was riding a K Swiss, by the way. And yeah, so like he was having a hard time at the end. He cramped up really bad, and Heron was like, dude, just take a shot of, grab some mustard. And we're at a restaurant or something after the ride,
yeah,
and
yeah.
dude, Jimmy took a shot of mustard and was like, his cramps stopped within like 5 minutes.
So the interesting thing with cramps is like there's still like a lot more. You think there'd be like a ton of research done on this, but there
Yeah.
still needs to be like so much more. But a lot of it's electrical,
Hmm.
in the muscles. And
Okay.
so a lot of times with say pickle juice,
Pickle juice,
mustard,
mustard. Yep.
shotgunning a beer, all legit things.
Shotgunning a beer.
No, that's a thing. Um,
Okay.
you're shocking the system out of that, right?
Okay.
But a proper way to, before that becomes an issue,
Yeah.
you want to make sure that you're stepping up with the sodium, potassium, hydrating well, making sure that you don't get into that depleted zone, and then it throws off the pH in the body, right? And
Yeah.
so now we got salt tablets and all kinds of sodium things that we can uh, consume when we're doing, say, a workout or bike ride, or even at the
Yeah.
racetrack, in between sessions or whatnot. So yeah, even like I at the racetrack, I like to always have a bottle of water, but like Noon tablets,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
NUUN, those are great. They taste good, and you're just keeping things sort of topped up, and that's a really smart thing to do. And with the bike riding, um, if it's hot, if somebody's technique is off, if their positioning is off, it can overload certain muscles, and it's just a recipe for disaster. So, like with technique, what I'm saying there is like pedaling cadence, so how fast your
Yeah.
legs are moving. And we talk about this all the time with your training,
Yeah.
and it's like
That
having
one
a
ride,
tachometer
right?
on.
Like
Yeah,
that one
yeah,
ride, I was like, dude, my back of my leg is cramping out. And you're like, and I stood up and I would spin it out and the cramp would kind of go away. And
yep.
I did that the rest of the ride. It was like what 110 miles, 10,000 feet, and you're like, well, what do you expect, dude?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at a
Like you
certain
ran the
point, you're
gas
good.
on E, bro. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
ran it down
yeah,
to
yeah.
E. What do you want?
Exactly. So with that, keeping the cadence up, and on the motorcycle, you see somebody going out in C group, and they're shifting at like 3 grand.
Yeah.
You're like, hey man, you instead of shifting early, like how about you just use more revs? The engine will be happier. You'll be like doing better. We're no different, right?
Yeah.
And so we're displacing more load through more pedal strokes, but with adaptation, we can actually hold higher levels of power output for longer periods of time, replication of efforts,
Yeah.
put fatigue off, all these things. So
Yeah.
it's not just the nutrition; it's also technique. Make sure your position is right, coming all together, and it can still all fall apart. You go
Yeah.
long enough, like things are going to go wrong. I
Yeah.
guarantee it,
That's what you said that day. I was like really bummed that I was like, man, I'm strong. Like, why did it not keep working? And you're like, dude,
bro.
you rode for
You
8 hours,
did
bro. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you?
Yeah. When was the last time you rode for 8 hours? I mean, especially with that kind of climbing, that kind
Yeah.
of intensity.
Yeah.
That's doubling down, and
Right.
that's actually one thing that I talk to people about also with training of any sort. There's you got two types of intensity. You got intensity through effort, and then intensity through duration. Again, like I was talking about the recovery rides that are 3 hours, which aren't that's impossible just because of
Yeah.
the duration. Well, you go super easy long enough. Granted, if you go like super chill, like if we were to go out 100 heart rate right now, breathing through our nose, I mean, we could be doing this on our bike
Have
right
a
now,
conversation, no handles, no hands on the handlebars,
right?
drinking a cup of coffee, right?
Do it for 24 hours. Get
Oh,
back
hell
to me.
no.
Let me know how
Nah,
that,
nah,
right?
dude. Not doing that.
So,
It's not happening.
so like, and,
No.
but I mean, in the off season, like a bunch of us would do 24-hour mountain bike races for fun, right? And especially if you
That
do it
don't
like
sound
so,
like fun.
uh,
Was it fun?
a lot. So the first time I did it, a buddy of mine who convinced me to do it about 3 a.m. He looks at me and I look at him. I'm like, "Hey, man, um, is this fun?" And because I wasn't sure, and
You
he
weren't
was like,
sure?
"Talk to me in a week." So like we finished the event. We had it was fine, and then like a week later, I was like, "That was so much fun."
Yeah.
So like in the minute, you have these highs and lows, but if you're
Yeah.
doing it solo, and you can do it as a team a lot of times, but solo, you almost have to like give somebody like rights to all decisions made, power of attorney.
Oh,
Like,
no way.
okay, like you're my guy, power of attorney, past like 2 a.m. to the finish. Like, I'm out.
You're
I might
like
be
mental.
pedaling, but like this is out. And
Oh
so,
my God, dude.
and you see guys who are like super badass, like top pros doing the solo 24 stuff, and maybe like, oh, that guy's like, he's going mellow, it's cool. Is he at race pace? And it's like, oh yeah, that's full race pace.
Oh man,
Um,
that's crazy.
and but that whole world has gotten I mean, just the way we train, it's gotten better. The level has stepped up. I mean, all sport. You look at World Superbike, MotoGP. I
Oh,
mean,
dude, everything's gone insane. Everything's gone
and
insane.
and and so you have to step up so much with not just being fast, but like taking care of your body, training right, eating right, all this stuff. Because guess who's doing all that? Your
But
competition.
but cookies taste so good.
Off season, bro. Or
Man.
after the event, and give yourself that little bit. But
So this is a
um,
question from our buddy Stephen Ludwig. He says
yeah,
he remembers asking you right after you had a big crash in turn 8 at Willow, which is worse, moto crashes or bike crashes?
yeah. Bike crashes are like so much worse.
Well,
It's
it's because
like
we're in our underwear, dude.
yeah. I mean, I had a really bad accident, but that was like, as far as like bike racing. Oh, I mean, I've lost most of my skin multiple times,
Okay.
and that's not breaking stuff. Like, I've broken stuff. Collarbones are typically a usual thing, but
Yeah.
dude, like, and the thing is, like, we patch up. Like, a lot of times we'll get up and our ass is hanging out and we'll still finish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but the catch with, like, the motorcycle racing, I did a really dumb thing in a race, and I tried to pass on the outside in eight, which is not a thing. I found out.
It's a thing. You just
I mean,
got
it's
to
a
pass the
thing, but
right dude, right?
yeah. So I lost the front, and I turned myself into a human bobsled.
Good
Um,
times.
but it was so funny because, like, I didn't even look at the bike. Like, once the noise stopped, I wiggled my hands, moved my arms. Okay, nothing's broken. I got up and I just started walking into the desert. And the crash truck like shows up, and they're like, "Bro, like, we couldn't even find you." They're like, "Aren't you worried about your bike?" And I'm like, "The bike? Like, that thing's done. Like, I crashed in eight, bro. Like, that thing's totaled. Like, you can have it."
Oh
And the
man.
the crazy thing was, it was just a little bit of body work, the pipe, and I think the rear set maybe was like a little tweak, but it was like good to go. I was like, damn, like, okay.
That kind of crash never happens to me anymore, man. Since I got the
Yeah,
R1, dude, it's like minimum bent triple clamps, like
oof.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
it's a bad deal, man. But it's so
Well,
fun
and
to
you're
ride when it
but that's also a leader bike is SV, right?
right, right.
So,
Yeah.
different
Well, even when I was on the
different
R6,
trajectory.
the R6 was like that too. It's just like, duh, it's like
Yeah.
the I remember when I started racing, if you crashed, it was like minimum $500, and now it's like 5 Gs minimum,
Yeah, yeah.
it's like
Minimum.
boom. Because like I don't fuck around. Like I got sparkle paint and shit. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you even the body work is like 5 grand. Just the
yeah.
paint's 5 grand. Like, it's
Yeah, dude.
you got like the bass boat thing going on,
Oh, of
you
course.
know.
Low rider, dude. Low rider. Come on,
Oh,
man.
lowrider. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
dude.
yeah,
If
yeah.
I could put a
Sorry.
chain link steering wheel on there, I would.
You got to actually get that, like, I don't know, airbrushed in or somewhere.
Dude, don't tempt me. Don't tempt me.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Now I
so
said it. It's
uh
got to happen.
what do you what's the deal with everybody's you see it online and stuff. It's like, oh, new bike day, like there's these dudes that like get brand new like $10,000 bikes like every other like they change dude, they get new bikes quicker than I get leathers and I get leathers a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what's the deal with that? And what would you do or how would you advise somebody making a choice to get a new bike? I talked to you quite a bit before I bought this one.
Hmm.
and you're like, for the money, dude, that bike is pretty good.
Oh yeah, bang for buck, solid. I mean, the problem right now in the bicycle industry is there's too many good options,
Okay.
and so with that, the good part about it is you can get hyper specific. Like, what do you want to do with this? I mean, say look at the moto industry the same way. Like,
Yeah.
what do you want to do? Are you doing adventure touring? Like, how much off
Yeah.
road? Are you doing any off road?
Right.
With sport bikes. I mean, there's the whole gamut.
Yeah.
Like how fast do you really want to go?
Like R1, buddy. Let's go.
R7, bro. R7.
If you say
Oh,
so. Like, I
no.
mean, it's fun,
I
but
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I'm
honestly,
actually
dude,
gonna
it's
have
hard to ride anything after riding that thing. The R1
true.
is just so rad. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I've never been a leader bike guy, but then after doing like a couple days with you and Chili up at Laguna on the R1s,
told you.
which I mean, I
I
make
know
that
it. I
bike go.
knew, dude, you had a smile ear to ear, right? And you're like, dude, I'm ruined.
I mean, I make the bike go really slow, but
Who
man, it was
cares?
really
You
fun.
looked cool doing it though, right? Like wheelie off the corkscrew, like,
Oh
it's
yeah.
good times.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But so again with bicycles, it's the same thing. Like what do you want to do? What's your budget? We can find something super awesome in your budget. And um yeah, say aluminum frame, 2 grand, good Shimano components. Yeah, great. Awesome. Get after it and you'll have a blast.
Yeah.
And again, it's more about setup. Like if you gave me like a clapped out old bike and I was like, okay, the motor's fine, but I'm gonna go through the suspension. And it might be a few years old, but it's like, okay, we freshened up the suspension. All right, now I got a decent bike.
Right.
Similar thing is where, if the foundation of the bicycle is good, you get decent components, you can make a lot of performance out of that,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you don't have to go insane, oh,
I
you
mean, you
gotta
don't
get
gotta spend the
anything.
16 grand on like whatever. What is it?
Well, I
SL9 Madone,
oh yeah, yeah, no, there's all kind. I mean,
SRAM
you got
red
the
axis.
Pinarello F,
There you go. Was
that
it Dogma or whatever?
Dogma. Yeah, yeah, the
Yeah.
Dogma F. I mean, I was just in Italy riding that for like a week. It's 16K, I think, built out
You're like, man,
the
this
the
thing's
right
sweet.
way.
Can I take it home?
Well, so the thing with that is like it's sort of like having I use a lot of analogies, so I apologize, but
Dude, fuck that.
um
Like, this is this show, dude. Like,
but so if you were to look at Lily on a weekend and it's beautiful out and you're like, hey, what should we do today? And it's like, hey, I got this clapped out Honda Accord with like 300,000 miles on it. Let's take it for a drive. Like that's not really like a thing. But if you have a bitchin' Ferrari, you're gonna be like, I'm gonna take this thing out any chance I
yeah.
get. So if you have the Ferrari in the garage and you're looking for motivation, to go out and exercise, all right, like pony up, like come on,
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
of all the stuff that we spend money on, um, at the end of the day, like you don't have to go crazy, but invest a little bit in yourself, and when you
Yeah.
look at your bicycle or whatever equipment you're using to train,
Yeah.
get something of decent quality, and you're like, no, no. I'm going to get after it. And that's going to be, I'm looking forward to using that because that's awesome. But if it's a janky POS, it when motivations is like slightly off, you're done. You're not doing it.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I mean, look, the Squeaky Wheel, the bike shop here local, they've got one in Lancaster and one in
Hmm.
Palmdale. And I think the Palmdale store is mostly Trek stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and I think they've got, I don't know, they do. I think they got Cervelo and Santa Cruz there too, man. And then in the
Yeah,
Lancaster
solid
store,
lineup.
they've got Specialized and Giant, I think.
Hmm.
And pretty cool guys, like Bob, the guy that owns the place, is like, yeah, dude, like he's been trying to scumbag me into getting a Trek for a long time. And I'm like, I think I want another 10,000 miles onto that thing before I think about.
Yeah, yeah. Your current bike's pretty sweet. I mean, if anything, like we gotta pimp you out with some different like wheels or something like that.
Oh no,
Upgrade.
the The pulleys.
Cassette?
The pulleys.
Oh, the pulley. No, don't do the
Oh yeah, the
pulleys.
big pulley. Everybody's like, "Oh, you got to
Ugh.
get the big pulley." And then there's the big, really loud cassette. You know, the hub.
Well, that's a free hub body. That's the hub. That's a different deal. But
Yeah.
the
What's the deal
pulleys,
with the
that's
loud? What's the deal with the loud hub bodies or whatever?
yeah. So it's the pulls. It's the ratcheting system inside, and some
Yeah.
companies have ones that are just really loud, and other ones like Shimano and a couple other brands that they're really quiet.
Hmm.
You go with like something like a Chris King, which is like this super rad high end hub. It used to be their company used to actually be based here long time ago, but those things are indestructible. But when you coast, it sounds like a chainsaw, just wah! And so like when you're mountain biking like illegal trails, not that I've done this, but like you see somebody show up on like Chris King's, you're like, you're not riding with us because you'll totally like get us shot.
Oh man, that's great. I
uh,
have ridden with a few people that have that super loud hub, and it's like, God damn. So what's the deal with
yeah.
the pulley? Like, is it like the big pulley thing or the bearings? Like the people are like, oh, you
So
got to get
it's all of it. So it's the bearing, ceramic bearings, the bigger pulleys. You're trying to lessen the resistance. So if the chain coming around the pulley on a smaller diameter, that the links have to bend more, but on a larger pulley, they bend less, and that's measurable to like 1 or maybe 2 watts of resistance savings.
the.
So like honestly,
So it's
I
total.
forget
So
how
what you're
much.
saying is it's totally worth the $1,000 or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like a cheap set is like what, $600 or something
Yeah,
like that,
dude.
and you're like, wait, to save what? Where like if you and I just get like a good night's sleep, that's like 50 watts right there for me at least. You know, it's like, oh, like you could put me on a Huffy from like the 80s and I'll like crush it.
Oh my
Um,
god.
so you know, it's like seeing the I mean, honestly, I loved when I was going okay on the SV, and I'd be out doing a track day, and I'll never forget this one guy. He was on like an R1 or
Is it
some
Streets of
leader
Willow?
bike.
It had to have been a Streets of Willow, right?
No, it was
Was
it
it the big
was at
track?
it was at the big track,
Oh
right?
shit.
And I'm on the SV 650 SV 650, and we come in after a session, and I was doing my own thing. Like my head was like getting everything down, right? And guy rolls in, he's like, "Bro, man, you're making that SV 1000 go good." And because he would just blow by me on the straights and then I'd eat him up everywhere else. And I was like, sorry, man, like this is actually a 650. And like I just kicked his dog after I said
Oh,
that.
dude.
But and my point is like, hey man, like invest in yourself. You'll get way more out of it than like trying to buy speed. Like if you're of the level where you can get the maximum out of that, cool. Like
Right.
but the thing is, most of us will never get to that level.
Yeah.
Now, again, if you like it and you have the budget and the bandwidth to do it,
And have at it.
awesome. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all down with that.
Right.
But if you're on a shoestring budget or like you can't, like there's so many other places that you can spend like $20
Dude,
to,
I rode bicycles
and do
from
way better.
'09 to dude, I rode bicycles because of you from '09 until 2020 with used bikes that I got from you, or I built that one from parts that I clapped together from eBay.
Yeah.
That bike's the first bike I bought brand new ever. And dude, you remember I was driving you crazy with like, hey man, what about this bike? What about this bike? What about and you're like, I'm not answering anymore. What it
It's yeah. Just
right?
just just ride, dude. Just
So talk
ride.
about I was talking to you the other night about the like my perception of because my hands are like trash. Um the difference between the Shimano and the SRAM stuff. And
Uh-huh.
the hoods on the SRAM stuff seem to be a little bit wider. So like my hands don't like have that pressure point go numb thing that I did when I was on the Shimano stuff. So
Right.
talk about that a little bit. Like what is it just marketing shit? Like, is it like Yoshimura versus Graves or whatever? Like what is it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I always say Pepsi and Coke. You know,
Pepsi, Coke. You know, I'm a motorbike guy, so I instantly go motorbike
I
shit,
get it.
right?
Yeah, yeah, totally. But it's I mean, we can get to similar ergonomics, but at the end of the day, like when you got, hand issues,
Yeah.
and I see that from time to time, there are certain systems out there that just sort of suck. Yeah, that the claw. Um, so yeah, with that, getting the ergonomics right. So wherever your hand goes, the rest of the upper body follows. So we
Right.
got to get that right. And if your hands are going numb, it's like having an arm pump, on the moto, and yeah, you're going to be sucking if not putting it, in the weeds
There's
real
a
quick.
commenter, Yuri Red Steer says that Santa Cruz sucks. I don't know, dude.
Okay.
Do
I mean,
they? I
I've been
mean,
I've been riding off and on Santa Cruzes since like the mid '90s. I mean, whatever. Everybody's got their opinion.
is it like
Their
Ford and
suspension
Chevy
design
kind of shit? Like, oh yeah, the Ford
pretty much.
guys, right?
Well, the funny thing is up in Santa Cruz, you got the Santa Cruz factory and then the Ibis factory, and you could like launch like if you had one of those big old like water balloon launchers or potato guns, they could hit each other.
Oh man,
And I mean, they're all good. Like people have certain opinions, but honestly, like
yeah.
there's some brands that I hate, but it's all personal. It has nothing to do about their product. Like the problem is I like some of these brands' products, even though I hate the company.
Yeah.
But it's at the end of the day, like this stuff's good. If there's trash out there, I mean, yeah, I'll call it out for sure. But that's definitely not a trash brand.
So the Target bikes, or
Oh
Walmart
yeah,
Walmart
yeah, yeah.
bikes,
I mean,
Costco
just
bikes.
go hate yourself.
What's crazy is when I was a kid, I remember some of the brands that you see in Target, and they were like good, legit brands like Mongoose. I remember Mongoose was good in BMX.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
am I crazy to
So
believe
what?
that? Like,
No, no.
is it
So
like the butterfly
what's
effect? Like,
no, what happened in the bike industry is a lot of these companies got sort of run into the ground, and then they got bought up by some conglomerate, and they just took the name, and then they just put like the name on these trash bikes. And so like
yeah,
GT, that was a
yeah,
great
dude,
California company. I raced their bike from BMX to road bikes, all of it hand built USA, like awesome. And then
yeah.
they got bought by a company and they just drove them into the ground. Then another company bought them. I mean, it's gone up and down, but for a while, there's things that were junk. I mean,
Yeah.
just so bad. So it happens with all kinds of stuff. Um, anyways,
Well, Nate, dude, it's been a fun chat, man. I think we got to wrap this thing up. I know you got to go to bed and stuff or whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You got to put the
The
kids to
kids have
bed.
to go to bed.
Yeah.
I gotta get my sleep so I can get my 50 watts.
There you go. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Nate, dude, it's been a
So
great chat, and thank you
totally.
for all the advice and training and stuff. And I guess I'll see you at Turkey Days maybe. Scumbag you
I'll
coming
be
to
in
Button Willow.
I'll be in Hawaii.
Oh, you poor bastard.
I know.
Yeah, I'm
But
sure you'll. Oh, yeah, we'll be thinking of
I'll
you
be
at
looking for
Button Willow.
next year's schedule. Like I'll be making
You gonna do
a lot
that
of time next.
Nosco thing? You gonna do that Nosco
Yes.
thing?
Yeah, yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
be
if
there.
anybody's good, because if anybody there's a great bike charity bike ride. This is actually one for people who are fit
Yeah.
and true hitters. Like the bike industry comes out and you'll see some legit dudes. A lot of moto
Yeah.
guys show up too. We'll have
Yeah,
guys
Bob
from
from the shop's like, dude, you're doing that right? You're gonna get smoked. I was like, all right.
yeah, yeah.
Is
Like
that
don't
weird?
start in the front because like we'll
No,
be going
dude.
down PCH
No.
at like 40 miles an hour, just
Hell
whoop
no.
on the pin. And people doing sketchy stuff. So, you know, just make a day of it. But it's yeah,
Yeah.
Nosco ride. I believe it's November 3rd,
Third. Yep. 83
Friday.
miles, 9,000 feet of climbing.
It's a good day.
Yes, sir. And I plan on just, I'm not trying to be the best at working out, dude, but I'm gonna go get through that thing.
Yeah, yeah. It'll push you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm excited about that, and
Cool.
dude, gonna let you go, but dude, it's been a great chat. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks so much for
All
having
right,
me.
buddy.
It's been fun.
All
All
right.
right.
See you.
See you.
All right. So we've stopped the